Hey, how'd you like that? I did that. No, I didn't do that. That was just something in the background there. Welcome to Nash Talk. It is a beautiful night in November, November 8th, 2023. My name is Chris Anthony. Welcome to Nash Talk. I am, if you can tell in the background, this is the first time I've done it like this. So we don't know what's going to happen, as far as technically. At least I don't. But I haven't had a glitch yet. So let's knock on wood there. And that's actually a real background. It really is a background. I've got a different camera I can show you. But as you can hear, they're dirt biking. And it is 5 o'clock here, 5:02 to be exact. And, I guess when they get off work, you'll see the traffic on the busy highway in front of me full of just trucks and cars going in every direction, super fast to get home, to eat, whatever, finish the day. And either that's some chainsaws in the back or dirt bikes. I'm suspecting dirt bikes. So I like it. It's nature sound. But I would like to get things rolling here. I've been wanting to get this gentleman on, who I met here back in May of this year. My first couple weeks, officially, not my first time in Nashville, but my official stay here. And I met him through a mutual friend. And I want to bring him on to talk about his last 10 years here in Nashville. He's a singer-songwriter, but mostly a producer in all kinds of production and all kinds of areas. And he's going to expand on that. He's from down under, but he's up here. And I'd like to introduce him. He's now a friend of mine. And here I'm going to bring to the stage Mr. Pal Sheldon.
Hey there.
Good day. Is that what they say?
Good day.
How do they say it? Good day. All right. See, there you go. We're off to the.
Good day, mate. There you go. Hey. No, they don't. No one says that anymore. But anyway, not when I was there. No. Yeah. It's like people think, oh, they drink Fosters down in Australia. They don't. No one drinks Fosters. So.
Oh, they don't?
No.
I forgot about that beer. Didn't it have like a little kangaroo or something on it?
I don't know.
Maybe I'm thinking about. Well, it's like Dos Equis, like they think that everyone down in Mexico drinks Dos Equis, but now it's Modelo or something like that. But well, that's good to know. That's interesting. See, so when you're down in Australia, down under the land of the outback and all that, I guess you don't have to feel obligated to drink Fosters. All right, well, got that off. So, pal, how are you doing today?
Very good. Been a good day. Been a good day today. Did some drum tracks and tried to get some pitching done. And the weather here was like amazing. So,
yeah,
sat outside, had some lunch, sausages.
Sausages?
Yeah, sausages, beef sausages. We make our own sausages, and
really?
Oh yeah, you can't get beef sausages here. Everything's got pork in it. So we make them.
That's great. That's funny. Well, I'm living with somebody, a lot of people I met down here are not from Nashville per se. They're not even from Tennessee. Some aren't even from America like yourself. So it's almost like when I used to go to New York, but different. It's a city full of high rises and things and traffic. But here it's different. And the people I'm up here with are from Texas, right on the border of Louisiana and Texas, and they love pork and they love barbecue. That's all I'm kind of laughing.
I like barbecue. We often go down to a barbecue place. Zelda, my wife, loves barbecue, and so it's a totally different thing than Australian barbecue. American barbecue is really smoky, and they put sauces on it. Australian barbecue's on a hot plate. You call it a griddle. And there's steak and sausages and onions and.
That sounds good.
It's a different deal.
I've been to your place, and I know you and Zelda, who I've met, your lovely wife, and she's just an amazing person. I might add, that you guys really love to eat. Like, I heard something. Is that her in the background? Oh no, nothing. Okay. All right, that was. Oh, okay, no problem.
She hasn't told me here.
So you're in your home now. Let me just point out, because sometimes the last interview I just did with somebody that I met down here, who I'm now friends with, we actually wrote a song together at the National Songwriting Academy, or so not the Academy, the Association on Music Row.
NSAI.
First song, NSAI. Thank you very much. Thank you for saying that. I met a gentleman, and he's from Virginia, but he's out and about at all the rounds. You name it, every night he's out there. And so he invited me after an interview to come down and write with him. He actually said there's rooms down there. There's actually 5.
We got
And he said,
downstairs.
yeah. And so I went down there, room 5, and he got the ball rolling. He goes, show me what you got. And I showed him a bunch of songs. And the first one he saw, he liked it. He goes, let's do this one. And he's going F minor, G, da 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 da. You know, it was really fun. It was really great. But I say great or great. And so anyway, when we did this, he was in Richmond because he had to go back, and I was actually in Detroit. So we did this from 2 different places, but about Nashville. That's where we met. Ironically, different change of events. I'm in just north of Nashville, outside about 20 miles, Greenbrier. You're in Nashville. I don't know exactly proportionate, but you're about 25 miles south of me. So we are both in the Nashville circle, not too far from each other in Tennessee tonight, right now. So that makes the authenticity of Nash Talk even more. But even though we're not from Nashville, and I wanted to talk on that because I know that you have a company called Arctic Sync, right? Did I say that correctly? And you're in your studio right now, and I've seen your studio. I've actually been in it. And it's pretty nice. I mean, I love all the hardware that you have in front of you and beside you and around you. And I want you to tell everyone basically, how you got started. I know it was in Adelaide, and between Adelaide and
Yeah,
Sydney.
well, I first met my wife in Sydney, and she was a singer. We were introduced by a mutual friend, and she was a singer, and I play guitar. Never married a guitar. They say. They always say never married. So I'm getting echo.
Are you getting an echo?
I'm going to turn the echo.
Hold on 1 second. I love the fact he's a producer. He can. Okay, we've got that. Let me see.
It's probably. I don't know.
Is it you or me? It might be me. Hold on a second. Let me move this over here.
There's always sound.
What's that?
There's always sound problem.
Oh, come on. You know what? You're the first one to point that out. I think the first time we met, you were adjusting our sound.
The first thing I met when I first met Chris exactly was his PA was set up and it was directly facing me, and I'm like, I don't need that facing me. So I go over there and turn the PA to face the street away from where I was sitting. Later, Chris says to me, I would have normally just told that guy off, but seeing it was you, I didn't mind. So basically, I thought, oh well, I'm sorry. I turned the, because they're always on those poles, and they people just put speakers in the wrong place half the time. So I just put it out to the street, away from where I was sitting. It was much better.
Sure.
Anyway, so that's where I started. Was with a PA actually. We went to Adelaide, started a band, and bought this PA, and it had an old 16-track Jans desk, which is an Australian manufacturer. It was 16 channels. It had a mic pre and 4 EQs and 1 single bus out, and that was it. It was a live console, and I learned how to do everything on that because everything was always breaking down. Microphones wouldn't work. I worked out signal flow, and it was like, it was a whole freak out. So after that, we started a studio. Well, before that, we had another business, but I sold that business, had some money, and started a studio. And we started working with local bands and advertising agencies. Wrote some jingles because we were songwriters, we'd write jingles. And we wrote a jingle for Icy, which is an American company, but there was an Australian guy owned the franchise out there. So we did all that. I recorded a few bands like Mark of Cain was one of the bigger bands we recorded, and they're still going now. They still release songs. It's like a thrash heavy. I was like, the first time I heard that band, I'm like, what have I got myself into? I don't understand this music. But after listening to it for a while, I'm like, yeah, I really like this. I found the melodies. It took me a while, but I realized where the melodies were in that music, even though it was like not what I was into at the time. Those guys were into the army, and they were both of them were engineers. One was mechanical engineer, and one was a electronics engineer, I think. And they're really intelligent, and they wrote all these really intelligent lyrics about war and how the metaphor for life. It was really interesting stuff. So anyway, left Adelaide after being there for 10 years and went to Sydney and started writing songs for television and music for television, underscore. We did a whole bunch of underscore, worked with a couple of composers down there, and they were on sort of, we'd employ them quite a few days a week. And then after everything changed when CDs stopped selling and publishers started promoting their music direct to television, we had to move out of our studio, and we came over to Nashville and wrote a whole bunch of songs and decided we needed to live here, which is a crazy thing to do. And then we bought this little house and moved over here in 2012. And from then on, we started writing more songs and producing more songs with a view to moving them into television and sync. So after that, I started acquiring, and my friends would give me songs. Can you see if you can get a placement for this? And so I realized that was a pretty good thing to do, because it would take me forever to write a song, produce a song, and then pitch the song and find a placement for the song. This way I could create a catalog and have much more diversity. So that's where I pretty well am now. I'm writing and producing as much as I can, but also pitching quite a diverse catalog of friends and other people I've met, their songs into television. Since I've been doing that, we've had the pandemic, the writer's strike, and the actor's strike. I think the actor's strike is about to finish. Fingers crossed. So it's been a crazy time. It's just been a very difficult time for the industry. So I'm expecting a big dam to break and wash over me with lots of opportunities. That's how I'm feeling.
That's pretty cool, because I wanted to, because you brought up a bunch of things that as far as like all these little obstacles, I mean, Lord knows, I know that we've all gone through things, post pandemic and all these other, detours or obstructions that you have, like you mentioned. But, I wonder, let me just throw this at you. Maybe this might be a sore subject. It's about AIs. I was going to save that for maybe later, but since you brought it up, because, that might be the next wave of stuff. But I'm kind of, even though, and let me just say this really quick. I like them. I don't use them, like not to write music or anything like that. But I truly believe the human element, producing, writing, all that, all those ingredients are still necessary to be. I think they're necessary with the human hand to be on top of all of that. So being a producer, do you see, because I see a lot of software, I see a lot of hardware, things being introduced that are starting to implement the artificial intelligence factor. How do you feel about that?
Well, first up, I know not enough to really feel the truth. I do know that the actors' strike at the moment, the thing that's holding them up is AI. And not because they can't agree, it's because they don't know. They don't know what the future is for AI. So they're finding it difficult to write into contracts what needs to actually be there. Right? So I think we're in that position where we don't know. I mean, AI is being used successfully in a lot of places. It's being used in plugins for equalization, for compression, for all of those. Lots of AI is being used. But then someone came to me the other day as a co-writer and said, I wrote this verse on AI. What do you think? I just didn't even want to look at it. I said, I don't do that. I'm here to co-write with you. There's a whole bunch of things that, people, artists, there's bunch of artists that say, you're stealing from us because you're taking all of our previously written work and putting it into a pile and then having the AI select things. That's all our work. But then every
Sure.
artist is listening to every other artist and doing pretty well the same thing. So what is the difference? I'm not into AI. My wife wants to use it. Do this research with ChatGTP. And like, it comes up with really basic answers. And I'm like, I'm not dumb. I'm not lazy. I'll rather think about these things myself. I
Right.
fear that the more we use AI, the lazier we become, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's like a muscle. We have to use our muscles, our brains. Otherwise,
Sure.
we'll just be like this, press the button. Oh, that's what we should do. And you look at a lot of the answers ChatGPT gives you, and it's like, this is basic stuff, real basic. Save some time. Yeah. If I had to
Yeah.
vote, I don't know. I'm not for and I'm not against, but I'm definitely not for.
I understand. Well,
That's
yeah,
that's
no, it kind of is a loaded question. It's kind of a fair question, and I know it's a question that a lot of people probably want to avoid because, well, from kind of some of the reasons you listed, we don't know.
I think there's more
You know,
interesting things to talk about. Like no one's come up
absolutely. So let's skip
there's
ahead. Let's skip ahead. You're right.
no
No, let's skip
one's
ahead.
come up with
We
an
got that
answer
out of the
yet.
way.
No one's come up with
Yeah,
an
that's
answer
fine.
yet. I don't like the
Right.
subject. It makes me feel ill.
Yeah, that's
So
fine. Let's move on.
you know
No,
what I
no,
mean?
no. Yeah, hey, that's what this is about. It's about being honest. That's exactly. I didn't want it to
Makes me
be.
feel ill
Uh,
inside. If I hear about AI, there's this sinking feeling in my heart. I just go, oh, it doesn't make me feel excited. I just think, ooh, it feels
right.
horrible. And that's probably the best I can say about it. I don't
Sure.
like the feeling it gives me. I know I use it for different things, but just in general, I feel it is more downsides than upsides.
Sure. Well, I mean, just to make note of this is that I think we know well enough of each other that we're both hands-on people. If we weren't, I wouldn't certainly be here, and neither would you.
I'm not judging you.
No, I know that. So, but if you feel like it, go ahead. Um, so let's go to the okay. Here's something that's big. I heard today, and I've been hearing this the last year and a half or so, and I know it's something that you mentioned when I first met you. So I heard it from people in the industry that have been long into it. The art of syncing, and you can explain that because some people really don't know what that means.
Tell me what you said again.
Syncing, syncing music.
Oh, I thought you said the art of stinking, and I thought
Well, if there's an art to that, I haven't heard of
there
it yet.
is, and it's the old thing, Don't worry about doing stuff that's bad. First iterations are never as good as the second iteration.
Mhm.
The art of stinking, that could be a good book for you. Like the art of just like being very good at something.
Right.
And because the there's that old saying, the 90% of your songs aren't as good as, wow, the top 10% of your songs, all of that business about, I can't even remember what it's supposed to be, but basically not all of your songs are going to be good, right? Not all of your songs are going to be your top 1%. So you have to
Yep.
have a few stinkers in there, a few things like, that stinks. Well, move on. Let's do another song. I got plenty of those.
Right.
So
Hey, no,
see, you're
that
thinking about, you're talking about sync though.
yes.
Sync is an interesting thing because I still find artists that know nothing about it. And well, or they think they know something about it, but they don't understand the two rights, the master and the song. And there's a whole bunch of technical things in there that people don't understand. I started doing sync back in Sydney and working for. I remember the first time I got a job like that, which is a documentary, to write the songs for a documentary, and they send you this huge, big, agreement you've got to sign, and so I learned a lot of stuff through that. So sync is one of those things where there's a lot of legal and there's a lot of rights ownership and things like that. But basically, from an artist's point of view, it's about doing your best art and then understanding what you have. Like as you write the song, understanding that you then own the intellectual property of the song. As soon as you put it onto a phone or write the lyric down, you own the copyright. That's your copyright. You've got the copy and you've copyrighted the song. So that's the intellectual property. And the writers own that, whichever, with a percentage deal on whatever. Like if me and you wrote a song, it'd be 50-50.
Right.
But then there's the other part of the rights, which is the master, the recording of the song. Now, if me and you wrote the song and then someone else decided to go, well, me or someone else decided to go and make a recording of the song and pay for all the recording, they would own the recording of the song. So that's another right.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these things have to be put in writing at the beginning of the phase. Like beginning, as we write a song, we've got to write down our splits. I speak to so many people, even people who've been writing songs for a long time, that haven't got their work for hire agreements ready. They haven't got a split sheet ready. They don't know who owns the master. There needs to be much more education in that area for
I agree.
songwriters.
I've seen that. Well, because I know that a lot of I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, because
is that what you were asking about? What were you asking about?
Well, it's because I think that the music, people come down here expecting, or anywhere, when they write a song, create a song, produce one, that they think right automatically that, it might make them a star, it might make them a lot of money. And it's becoming, I think more difficult. And I think people are putting the material in Spotify. But what I've learned is that there's a new money element that kind of, it doesn't bypass it, but it's another avenue that I think people are starting to gear their music towards, like getting into movies, television, commercials, and syncing with those.
Let's say this, Chris. It's not new. It's been around for many, many years. Back in when I was in Adelaide and Sydney, it was very uncool to put your songs in ads. It's very uncool to have your songs on television. And the reason it was uncool was because they were selling records and CDs, right? As soon as it stopped selling CDs and records and downloads, it suddenly became cool to put your songs in ads because that's where the money was. So it's not about, it's not new. I've been doing it for a long time. So I was always pretty uncool. I was never making a record for myself. I was writing songs that were on television. I was the uncool guy doing the corporate music. And so the uncool guy was like, oh, pretty dumb as well, because I didn't realize what I was doing was the future. And so now everybody wants to put their songs on television. It's like, back here, I used to make television. We made a skateboarding show, and there were these local bands. We wanted local bands to put music in our local skateboarding show. It was on a primetime TV show, television. And we would ask them to come and send us records. Some of the bands actually sent us records. It was very hard for them to send me CDs. I had a real lot of trouble finding bands that would send me a CD. And so they would get the performance rights, 100%, and we'd put a little chyron or a little name at the bottom of the screen with the band name and the song, for this niche skateboarding show, and that was the payment. So our budget was nothing, so that was pretty good. But that was at the beginning. That was when they started. People were starting to do that. Nowadays, that was before music. We didn't even know what a music supervisor was. There was one music supervisor in Sydney, Simon Ledley. And it was like, what do you do, Simon? Well, that doesn't even sound like a job to us. It's like, oh, that's what we do. We already make this music for television. Why do we need someone else to stand in between me and the producer?
Right.
And he knew what was going on. So things have changed. That's all I'll say. It's not new. Things have changed. That's all.
Well, let me kind of rephrase that. I know it's not new because I remember when Led Zeppelin and a lot of these classic rock bands, they were like, oh, they were so against selling out and things like that. Next thing you know, you see Bob Seger making $40 million off a Chevy commercial. And next thing you know, you hear the Immigrant Song on everything. You hear the Who on all the CSI, with Who Are You?
They stopped selling records.
Yeah, right. But they kept making that money and they were paid big. And I think what I've heard, this is the redirection here with the question. I think a lot of people know that they're not going to make a lot of money putting it on the streaming services like they thought. And they're putting their best foot forward when they put it on Spotify. They're not putting their junk on Spotify. I mean, at least they don't think so. And when they're competing with numbers that are doubling every 6 months, 30,000 a day, 60,000, and now it's over 120,000. It's exponentially getting worse. It's this ocean of music that nobody's ever going to hear hardly. And people that go to Spotify generally, they want to hear songs that they already know. And unless, of course, they're looking for a playlist. But I guess what I heard is that to download or use any kind of Michael Jackson, for example, if they use a snippet of any of his songs, it's like $2.5 million, some ridiculous fee. But to get some artist out of Nashville or anywhere, they can pay them $40,000, $50,000, which is a small fraction of what they used to pay. And they probably still can pay. It's in the budget, but they'd rather go to something maybe a little bit different and new, and they can probably get more bang for their buck. 3, 4, 5 songs, giving an opportunity to those people that aren't going to make money maybe on the radio or get on a Billboard chart or something like that, but they're getting paid to sync. So now I think that's what I've heard. Everyone's going, let's try to sell it to a movie or Netflix or some streaming service that's putting out 100 movies a day, or but that's and I know that you were there before that in Australia, both Sydney and Adelaide, and now years later, after all of these things and all these different productions and placements of music, somehow in the last 10 years or so, you jumped across the pond, or whatever they call it. I know from the UK they call it the pond. I don't know what they call it from Australia to
ocean.
The US. Oh, the ocean? Okay. There you go. That's a good one. Wow, there's a big ocean. I think it's the Pacific that separates us, right? It's Pacific, right? Okay. Well, okay. So now let's go to that. Okay. So what brought you?
Well, look, let me just say this. The only people paying independents 50 grand are advertisers. Okay? That's advertising. You can find those sort of figures, and you can find more than that. But for TV, like Netflix and those other shows, man, the budgets are low. The budgets are low there. So you very low in some cases. So the better the show, the higher the budget. The worst show, like you think, like something like Love Island or things like that, they don't pay much money in those shows. But what does happen is if your song is on Spotify, you will get a bump in plays. The other thing about Spotify is that supervisors actually do look through Spotify and YouTube and SoundCloud for undiscovered music. What supervisors really are nowadays are the A&R. Like the A&R guy at the record company, he was cool because he found the latest person, right? He got the big bucks. But nowadays, a music supervisor, a lot of them, their main goal is one of their main goals and one of their heart things, one of their things that they as I have a passion for, is helping independent musicians and also finding the next Snow Patrol or the next big sync person. Because what that does, not only do they feel good about it, because it gives them, because that's their gig, they want to help people, but also the next time someone's employing a new supervisor, they've got a name. Oh, they found such and such. They've got good taste. So they're in this taste making place where their taste matters. And so, as far as a sync agent's concerned, we are sort of like the filter before the filter. What happened was that the supervisor was needed because suddenly the show producer, the showrunner, had all of the publishing companies throwing music at them, and it was a big avalanche. Then there was all the songwriters and all the producers. They were throwing music at the shows, and so the showrunner said, "I need someone to filter the music. I'll get a music supervisor. They will filter the music. They will write all the contracts. They'll do that job." So they didn't have many of those before. They would have someone, but they would work with an orchestrator or they'd work with the composer, which the music supervisors still do. And so what happened then was, after about 10 years of that, the music supervisors said, "There's too much music coming towards us. We need a filter." And so that's where sync agents came in, because they are then the filter before the filter. Okay, so
regulate the traffic flow, basically.
Well, they need the supervisors need it because they're hundreds of emails a day from people who don't understand what they're getting into. They
Absolutely.
haven't got the work for hire agreements. They haven't got the splits. They don't know who owns this. Supervisors haven't got time for that. Producers haven't got time for that. And so that's what I find my job to be: the filter before the filter. You know, crave and eat. No, I'm showing myself age here. But it's a filter, right? And my filter is my taste. Okay, it's my BS filter saying these people have not got together, or I really like these songs, and I think I can place these songs. So it's an interesting industry. It really is. I don't know if that
You have
the thing there, but
you obviously have you used the word passion, and I like that word, so I'm going to use it a couple times here. I think what I first off is, because I know you're also a songwriter. I've seen you perform and sing many times with me, for me, whatever. And thank you for that, by the way. And
I always love it.
yeah, I know you did a great job.
The good thing about you, Chris, is that your abilities on stage are great. Like to get the crowd going and to just keep communicating with the crowd, and it's really good. I've never not been to an open mic or a songwriting round like that before, where you really sort of, the introductions are great, the vibe's great. It's cool. It's good.
Well, thank you. Well, I got to reverberate that back to you. It's because sometimes you can have a great producer, but you got to have talent and you got to have material in between. So, I guess to be a producer, like, I'm an Ableton user. I wouldn't call myself a professional. I'm like a super novice, but you're really good at both analog and digital technology. Obviously, it's wrapped around you right now. And that really fascinates me because it takes a particular person that maybe, because I've seen a lot of producers where they don't actually perform. They're never going to perform. They're never going to sing. They may have the ability, but they're first and foremost, and it takes a lot of strenuous patience to sit there and know how to EQ and filter and do all the other things, and then have to give direction to a performer, vocalist, a musician, both, and then tie all those pieces together to make one master mix down of a really good sounding product, regardless if it's going to be a #1 hit or not. So that's number one. So there's a passion for that, because some people love to just write, create, perform, but they don't want to do they'll do the basics. They'll record themselves, maybe singing into a mic and, doing a demo or something like that. But you're kind of the jack of, I wouldn't say all trades, maybe you are, because it kind of genericizes everything, but I know you're really good at what you do. And, it's fascinating to watch you. And like I said, that time you came up and you were readjusting our speakers, I had 5 American Idols and somebody from The Voice that I had never heard perform before at the very first night we worked together. And within the first 20 minutes of meeting you, you were tilting the speakers around, and the kid who actually now sings for Firehouse and also went on tour with Great White this summer, who I just met like a few weeks earlier. That's who we were doing that for, and he wanted to hear it this way and that way, and then but I knew that you were recommended. Well, I was talked up about you from a mutual friend who I actually never met, from your homeland, and we're still good friends. But so I took it on face value that you knew what you were doing, and then when I came to your house months ago and I saw your studio that you're sitting in right now, I saw older equipment, I saw newer equipment. That's what we do. That's what time does. You keep your old and your new together. And, I could tell that you're very confident, not super complex. I guess you could be, but I in enough where I know you know what you're doing. And that's why I wanted to bring you on today, because, when you get up in front of like an open mic, like you did with us, and I'm sure many, many other places, because I've seen some of your stuff online, that it's you kind of represent Nashville in a way that you represent it like this is what it's really about. And you're not a native of Nashville, with a cowboy hat. You weren't born up in Antioch or somewhere like that. But you adapted to the landscape thousands of miles away. In fact, I've met other people. So have you, from Australia and that part of the world, that have come here to find their muse with their musical abilities. So your sensibilities, as far as I'm concerned, are kind of the best of all worlds. You've done the writing, the producing, the syncing. I mean, what haven't you done? Expand on that. What brings you your passion?
I don't think Nashville is one thing. I think what I like about Nashville is that when people get up and be themselves. Nashville's a music town, and we love music. I love music. And so when someone gets up there and just is who they are, that's when it works. No one wants to see someone faking it. I don't care what sort of music it is. But if it's real, I'll watch it. Like if it's like, man, this is real, I'm into it. I don't care what style. It's just like, it's got to be real. I mean, I was in a basement one night, and my friend who I'd known for a little while said he was going to do a punk show. And I'm like, oh, okay. Anyway, so he does this punk show in the basement of his house. It was 5 songs. I felt like I was at a punk show back in like early 80s. It was like, how did you even do that? It was real, right? It was real. You go to a jazz show, the same deal. It's real. If it's real, I'm into it. And so all I try to do, and what I've been trying to do recently more and more, is just to connect with the song when you're playing live. Just Stephen Mill is a songwriting singing teacher over in LA, and he once said to us in this class, said all the times you play in a rehearsal, Remember those times you rehearsed and it was amazing? And then when you get on stage, it's a bit funny. It's not as good.
Mhm.
Uh, Forget about when you get on stage, forget about the rehearsal. Just take a moment before you sing, breathe, and then deliver what you have built up. Don't think about what you've built up. Just deliver what you've worked all this time for. And if it's
Right.
good, it's good. If it's not, go back and do some more work on it. But don't think about it when you deliver it. Just deliver it. Contact the heart of the song, the lyric, and then just deliver it. And so I've been trying to do a bit more of that, and that's been really helpful. But I feel like I'm a vertically integrated person. Like I said to you, I started in Adelaide with a little tiny live PA, and I worked out signal flow, and it probably sounded terrible. One of the worst gigs we ever had was we had this great big gig, and my sound engineer walked out halfway through the show, and we sounded terrible. But disasters happen. But So I've been trying to just integrate the songwriting, integrate the production, integrate now the sync thing, so that no one's ever helped me, right? Now, I haven't got a father who's got a lot of money. No one's got a lot of money. It's just like it says, well, I've got me and Zelda, and we just do the stuff until we get it. And so it's like, well, this is we're going to do it, and so I have to learn it.
Right.
I'm a slow learner too, real slow.
You know what? But that's the beauty of it. That's what I think a lot of people come down here for. You can, we live in a day and age, and this isn't dating either one of us, but we live where these kids can be discovered. They don't know what a corded phone is. They don't know what a payphone. They don't know. They don't care.
No,
I,
why should you?
I, it's like they don't even want to watch something that's longer than 30 seconds on this whole thing. And what I believe is that um, there's got to be a newer. No, I shouldn't say new. I mean, you're never going to erase or change most of Nashville, the historic parts, as far as the way they do things at these open mics. When I came down here, the only thing
Man,
I thought that
so much different music. There's ciphers going on. There's hip hop everywhere. I mean, there is a whole bunch of old Nashville. That's true, but it's always old Nashville's always going to be there, and new Nashville is going to be something that I don't know about. There's something going on right now that is just amazing that I don't know about, and it's music. It's something that's musically happening here, and I wish I did know about it. But there's so many musicians. That's such a vibe, and it's just like that's what I want to be part of. The new stuff, you know.
right. Well, I guess okay. So let me ask you this: how do you feel? And this is like a little bit of back and forth, but like me, I'm known for being a DJ that worked in some of the biggest clubs in Detroit and around the country. I've worked with all the radio stations and Billboard magazines, so it was like I knew every kind of genre of music: country, rock, hip hop, dance, club, you name it. And I was always up on it. And when I came to Nashville, I knew there was Division, Music Row, that whole area. Then there was some of the outskirt outline areas like Franklin and Hendersonville, whatever, even all the way up to Clarksville, maybe. But I noticed that the most popular area happens to be Broadway. And Broadway has all these country moniker bars: Luke Bryan, Kid Rock, Miranda Lambert, and so on and so forth. And it seems to have it pulls in the most money, but you have these kids that weren't even born playing these cover songs for 4 hours a shift. And then when you walk in the next bar and the next bar and the next bar, most of them are playing the same songs. And I'm wondering, like, will they ever give them an opportunity to utilize the new technology of streaming them so they get their exposure? And or will they, my last part of the question, will they allow them to maybe showcase for once in the most popular, densest populated area for where all the tourists go, allow them to play their original songs in between their sets, so they can get at least a little bit of notoriety or exposure. It doesn't seem like they allow that
You
a
ever been to
lot.
Disneyland?
Dixieland?
Disneyland.
Oh, Disneyland. Yeah, but absolutely.
So Disneyland is Disneyland. Downtown is downtown. There is a brand. It's a brand, and no one's going to mess with the brand. There's people who control that brand, and they don't want what they don't want. Disney
True.
doesn't let someone else come in and do a show. Oh no, it's Disneyland. They have Disney music and Disney characters. Downtown has downtown characters and downtown music. It's not Nashville. It's what the world thinks of Nashville and tourists think of Nashville.
Mm.
But you ask anyone who lives here, they don't go downtown unless they're a
True.
musician and have to go downtown. Or if they've got friends coming in, they will take them down. I took my friend downtown when he turned up here from Australia. He's a musician. He's a great musician. And his attitude, I said, "What did you think, Andy?" He said, "Oh, I'm so upset. I'm so sad." That was his attitude. He was saddened by it. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I mean, but the thing is, if you live in Disneyland and you get a gig there, you've got a job there, right? I know a bunch of people who make money, good money down there. And they've got other bands that they do their art with, but they make good money playing downtown, right? They've got the character, they got the head on, they got the Mickey Mouse head on, and they're down there playing the Mickey Mouse songs, and they're making good money. And good on them, because someone's going to do it. They're not expecting to be picked up from anywhere. They just know that this is where I can make more money than working in a kitchen or anything like that. So there's, like AI, there's the good and there's the bad, right?
But Disney isn't a fair comparison. I worked in Orlando and I worked at Universal Studios and I worked with all the theme rides. I was an MC, and Barney will be Barney 100 years from now. Mickey Mouse will be Mickey Mouse 100 years from now. Nobody wants Mickey Mouse to change. They don't want to see a modern version. Remember when they tried to change Coke to clear Coke? It didn't work, right? So, I mean, I do believe there should be some placements where the most population, because it seems like the people that are getting the opportunity to play original stuff, number one, they're not showing it, they're not recording it. That's my little tip. And number two, and maybe this is more important, even if you took away the technology, is the fact that like somewhere they should have like scattered, like, hey, look at these are original songs and original artists. It's not going to break the mold of the model of, do you understand? Because people come down here.
I go to church, okay?
Sure.
And I went to this church once, and the pastor got up and he said something quite profound. They're obviously, like any church, having different things going on in the background. And he got up and said, "Hope everyone's having a great time here today. This is the church I started. And I think it's a great church. It's a great church. And if you don't like it and you want to start another church, great, go and do it. But if you don't like this church, don't whinge about it. Go and start another church." It's the same deal with Nashville, downtown. If you don't like downtown, don't go there. If you do like it, go there, because it's not changing.
Where would you go? Okay, where would you go? Well, you know what? I mean, eventually churches have changed. I mean, they never changed the Bible, but they've broken up the churches into thousands and thousands.
That's because the person didn't. The other people decided they would fight City Hall or something, right? Whereas really, downtown is downtown, and it's the Disneyland of Nashville. That's those 5 little blocks, and great. And it's not what I go. That's not what I see as Nashville, but that's what it is. And you can do good things there. But I'm not opposed to talk about it really, because that is not my circle. I know friends.
Okay.
there.
I,
I've,
then where would you go?
there's there's
Here's an easy.
there's bluegrass down there. There's country down there. There's lots of stuff.
Okay, let me minimize the question here. All right, all right. I'm asking you, 10 years plus down here, right? Where would you go if you were an artist that wanted to be discovered, or at least have the best opportunity with original voice song material from anywhere? If you were to come in and say, where can I go? I don't want to waste my time going downtown because I know I'm going to have to play 4 hours for tips. I don't want to do
Well,
that.
you
Because
know
there are
what?
people I met.
You've got to play. You've got to be able to put in the hours. You have to do the gig. You have to be able to play the 4 hour gig. You have to be able to do every day, because the more you do, the more you stink, the better you get. So if you've got to do the 4 hour gig, or you've got to do the crummy little place, you've got to do them to become an artist. But to think you're going to be discovered is not the thing to do. I mean, nowadays people get discovered on YouTube and that's
Sure.
on TikTok and all that stuff. So you really need to be with the phone, doing all that stuff, and that's not what I can do. I'm just not, I'm past that. It's not what I'm interested in enough to do it. And I know plenty of artists who are like, I'm not into that. So the other thing you can do is to get really good at it and get your songs on television and film. That will at least put you in front of an audience and bring up your plays.
Let's talk about Arctic Sync for a moment, or at least your studio, what you've been doing for the last couple of years, your passion, your drive. What brings you the most joy, fulfillment? What keeps you busy doing exactly what you're doing, in that room that you're in?
Writing a really good song, and then
Number one is
that's
number
the
one
first thing.
writing.
You've got to write the good song. You've got to write the good song, and then you've got to be able to produce it to a point where, yeah, that's great.
Wow, good
So,
for you. Do you collaborate with anybody, like your wife or
oh yeah,
anybody out?
yeah. I wrote it. I write people all the time.
Do you really?
I finished
Is
writing.
it, now, do they come there? Do you go there? Do you do it online? How much of that? Because I heard a lot of people today on this.
All of it.
Um,
I do it online. They come here. I go there.
no rhyme or reason.
No, whatever's best for the song. I mean, yeah, if the songwriter's in Australia, I'm not going to go to Australia to write a song. I'll just
Okay, so
put it
we
on,
have limitations. Okay,
put it
okay,
onto.
so that was a good question then. Okay, well, because I want people that don't know you, never been to Nashville, don't know how to sing, produce, write, and or kind of do, to say, wow, this is what he does, and because you don't do just one thing. He sings, he plays guitar, he writes, he collaborates, he produces,
When
and
I
the way
first
he
when I first came to Nashville in 2010 for a holiday, I met a bunch of people here, wrote a bunch of songs, and at about that time was when I started writing over Skype. So that was how Skype was the thing at the time. There was really bad delays, and it was very difficult. But I'd write with people in America from Sydney, and I'd write with people in Melbourne from Sydney, and that was a really good thing to actually learn to write over the internet.
was that the reason you came to Nashville the first time, or was it on vacation, or what brought you here?
A songwriting teacher had a spare flat condo, and he said one day, he said, anyone who wants to go to Nashville can stay in my condo for free. So Zelda and I and our friend Naomi said, really? And so we took him up on it. We were here for 7 weeks.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
wow. There's some magic in this town. I've been treated really good by some really good people here, which is why I'm here, why I'm actually here. And um, I told him I can't promise anything, or I can't guarantee anything, but I can promise you, if something ever because you just always want to give back to people that believe in your idea or dream for any reason, anywhere, at any time. That's just my feeling. And I don't think I know that a lot of people don't feel that way, but Nashville definitely has some magic. I mean, I've come back and forth 4 times just in the past 2 years, and I've been through a lot right before COVID and during COVID where I didn't think I was ever going to escape Detroit. And when I came here, even this last time, and you and I've had discussions about it, and I think a lot of people, regardless of age or circumstances or situations, they always, in fact, I've had people tell me, goes, yeah, it just pulls you back. It just pulls you back more than it doesn't.
One thing I see, one mistake I see people do here is to be fearful. When they turn up, some people just think it's too big or too much, and as opposed to just diving in and finding where your level is, because just because it's natural, it just means there's more. There's more great, and there's more terrible, and there's more in the middle. So if you dive in, you'll find your level, and then you'll be able to move from there. Right? But if you don't dive in, you'll be scared. Oh no, I can't.
I love that.
You
That's
know,
why I like you.
you've got to dive in. I remember when we first came, Zelda couldn't even play ukulele. And the first open mic we went to, she got up there and she played ukulele with this one song. And it wasn't very good, but she did it. Right? And that's all that matters.
That's your wife. Come on.
You've got to pay. You got to go through Debbie Champion's little open mic night when you get here. That's rite of passage, and it's terrible. You've got to get there at 8 o'clock, and you've got to wait till 10 o'clock, and you get to play one song, and it's just the worst. But it's rite of passage. That's how it works. And there's a lot of people in front of you, and you've just got to dive in and see where you float. So that's what I encourage anyone who's thinking about coming to Nashville. Just do it. Jump in.
Suck in. Cold water or not, man.
Yeah, you might be great. I remember I saw Molly Tuttle on her first performance in Nashville at the Basement. She was amazing. It was at the New Faces night. And it was like, wow.
Really?
What's that? And she was great. And now she's like, everyone knows who she is. But at that stage, she was at the New Faces night. She just dived in, did what she did. And she found her level really quickly. Other people, they'll find something else. You got to do it.
It's funny. I'm actually doing an interview with a guy that I was supposed to do about 2 weeks ago, and he's one of the best guitarists. He plays at the top of Kid Rock's all the time in the prime time. It's a band called Hippies and Cowboys. They're probably one of the most popular. They're in the top 5 of all the bands downtown. And he's an amazing, amazing guitarist. Young guy, his name's Victor, and he actually invited me today while I was on a 7-hour Zoom to go to the basement. I've never been there. Friday night to interview him before the show. A couple hours before the show. And I can't wait to go there because I've heard good things about that place. You should meet me there if you get a chance. We can go hang out. But anyway, because he's fun to hang out with, by the way, him and his wife. Because you're right about that. Because I think people have the wrong impression of me. Like it's like how you said like, oh, I just write words. Well, I was actually playing all the backgrounds today on the song that we wrote with a bunch of people. Because of you, I started doing Ableton better. I'm starting to record better. I'm starting to play better. I even got a guitar and I'm starting to play, I'm starting to learn chords because I'm not leaving here unless I can play at least, A through G. I'm like, come on. My fingers are starting to hurt. And how do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I was watching you like, I hate you. You said you're really good at it. But you have to dive in. You have to dive in. Fear is not an option. I
started playing guitar when I was 11. I was terrible. I was a terrible guitar player. I remember the first show I ever played. I played the song so fast, it was ridiculous. I was so nervous. It was just like, that's it, done. Anyway, it's 6 o'clock. I've got to go. So
yeah, no problem. Hey, real quick before I go, because I don't want to, I hope I didn't leave you with hang with any bad questions because we can always do this again, whenever. But I think first, number one, thank you for your time, pal Sheldon. Everybody, go to his website, check it out. If you're in Nashville, is there anything you? Two questions. Is there anything you favor or don't favor, or you don't care what kind of music it is? If somebody comes to you, how do you feel about that? Any limitation or?
I I have a lot of opportunities for a lot of different sorts of music. I'm open to different styles. Uh, yeah, I don't like bad lyrics. Like I heard, if I hear a song that starts off, "I woke up this morning," I will turn it off.
I
It's
only
like
showed you.
I don't want a song that starts off. Anyone remembers Ralph Murphy? You know, he used to have this story that went, this guy came up to me at a party and he said, "I got a new song." And Ralph says, "Oh, what's it called?" And the guy says, "The blues keep rolling on." And Ralph said, "I don't want to hear it." And that's pretty well it. It's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear a song that starts off, "I woke this morning." It's
So
I
you
want to
bet.
hear good lyrics. Good lyrics really like. Bad lyrics, bad. That's one thing that a real turn off for me. Like
Yeah.
cliches and stuff. I'm like, ugh, I don't care how good the song is, it just annoys me.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I only showed you one set one time, and it was a really bad set because I had to do it for
I'm not
filming.
talking
So
about you, Chris. I'm talking about you asked me about
I
people saying,
know, I know. I just seized the moment. So let me. Oh, they got people. Look at. I got people watching from. Let's see. There's some people from Michigan. And and later this is going to exponentially roll because it's going to be looping on Facebook, YouTube, publicly, LinkedIn. I know that we have an Instagram thing, and
you
I don't know
had
if we're
one
going to
more
put it.
question. What was it?
This song, you got to hear this one song. And I just remember one time, and your wife was sitting next to me the first time I met her over at Donato's back in June, I think. And she said, because she knew about my boy, and I didn't want to get all deep and melancholy about a song, but you were up there, and you were playing some good vibe songs. And there was a song. What's it called? I think it's called "Breathe."
Oh yeah, breathe in, breathe out.
It was a slow song, but she said to me, she taps me, and she looked me right in the eyes, and she said, "Because you got to listen to this song. It's about you and your boy, and you were singing it, and it was a beautiful rendition. It was an acoustic. He's on his
Well,
guitar singing. You're very
I wrote that
masterful,
with a
man.
guy called, I think it's Jerry Jacobs. I met him at a show once. I sat down next to him and we started chatting, and we co-wrote that song together. So um,
Ohio.
yeah, sometimes good songs come out of just little co-writes, and just when you
I'm
can
going to
do a
co-write
co-write,
with you.
just to be
I'm going to
open to
co-write.
whatever. Sounds
You're a
good, man.
great guy.
You let me know when it's going to happen, and I'll be there.
I know. We're gonna go out. Hey, don't forget if you want to join me Friday, it's an open invitation. It's my
What's
birthday
next
week and
Friday?
nobody's here. Nobody's here with me. Nobody. In fact, my buddy lives here.
Whereabouts are you
He's going to
going
Waterloo,
Friday? Where are you going Friday? Get the whole internet to turn up.
the basement.
Send me
You
an
don't live
email.
far from. I will. The basement. The basement. In fact, don't forget. Join us Friday. Friday. Victor Arruda, lead guitarist for Hippies and Cowboys. He's going to be on. But this is Pal Sheldon from Arctic Sync, Australia down under, from Sydney to Adelaide, all the way last 10 plus years in downtown Nashville, the heart of it, producing, writing, making magic happen. Pal, thank you so much, my brother. Thank you for
Thank you,
coming on
sir.
finally.
Appreciate you. It's been
Uh,
fun.
it's been fun. I'm going to sign you out, and then
Sign me
I'll
out.
give you. I'm going to
Okay.
sign you out. Here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1. What a great guy. Hey, listen, I'm going to get off in a second. I can see him in the green. I want to talk to him real quick before he leaves. Thank you guys for joining us. And I know that this is live, but later on, it's going to be looping permanently on many streaming elements out there: Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch. And it's so you guys can get a grasp of these individuals and how creative and talented and the hard work. And, like he said, you can't just, go from A to Z just like that. You got to put your work in and you can't have the fear. Somebody sent me a book not too long ago. She's a friend of mine who also sent me a song, but it was called A War on Fear. Get that book. It'll help you out with anything and everything you do, whether you're an artist, a songwriter, whatever. And I wish you guys nothing but the best. Trust the process. Join me this Friday. It's a last minute show. I can't wait for it. Just like with Pal, everybody's been great to me down here in Nashville, and I'm just really stoked about some of the things that have happened. And check out his website again, Arctic Sync. And if you want to get more information, just hit rewind later. And that's about it. All right. So have a great Wednesday night and enjoy yourself. It's been beautiful out here. You would have seen the trees earlier, but now it's dark. And that's it. All right. Help control the pet population or something like that. All right, guys. Have a great night.